Good morning. My name is Joe Fleming, and I'm excited to introduce my wife, Stephanie. We are the proud parents of our son, Cannon, and our daughter, Skylar. Stephanie is a kind, caring, beautiful lady that I've been blessed to be married to for 22 years. She is the cornerstone of love for our family. I am grateful every day that God blessed me with a wife that has enough patience to deal with me and a son that acts very much like me. I'm excited to hear what God has given her to share with y'all.
Morning. Happy Mother's Day. I'm honored to be speaking with you this morning, and I pray that God is using me to share the message that He wants me to present. So, hi, I am a parent of a teenager. So teenagers, that's a lot packed into one little word. I'm sure that you know that each stage of parenting comes with its own challenges and its own blessings, all packed into one. And for teenagers, it's the same. It's not different. The teenage years for us started out a little bit rough, pretty rough. And then they've smoothed out as we kind of got toward the end. Cannon's 18. Whew, we made it, I think. For others, it might be that your teenage years started out pretty good and then they got rough at the end, or the rough patch might come in the middle. I guarantee there's going to be a rough patch. And the smell. There's going to be a smell. But through it all, whatever the case, teenage years can be a very special time for both the teenager and the mom. And so I just kind of want to touch on a few things that I've experienced over the years. But I'd also like to share that I'm in no way an expert. I am not a parenting guru. I've failed and made some mistakes that I would love to take back and do over. I'm walking side by side with you, and I don't know all of the answers. But maybe by sharing some of my experiences, you're not alone. So some of the things that I've wrestled with over the years, just a few of them: not knowing how much independence to give him, how much access to the technological world he should have, or at what age he should have a cell phone. Should he have a set curfew? Should it depend on where he's going and who he's with? How many people do I need to meet before I allow him to go with a friend? Should he even be allowed to drink Mountain Dew? Seriously, there's so many questions. At every turn, I'm questioning myself. Am I doing it right? Am I asking enough questions? Am I asking too many questions? Am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? Am I being a good example of a Christian that he can follow? I didn't really worry about being so much the cool mom, but I also didn't want to push him away to where he wasn't speaking to me. Fortunately, though, even though I didn't do it all right, there may be a couple of things that I kind of gleaned over the years that I can share with you. First, have a relationship with Christ. I can't stress that enough. I don't think either of us would have survived the teenage years if I didn't have a relationship with God to go to. Parenting is a really tough job. God is going to guide you and help you through the tough times. You will have arguments with your teenager. They're going to happen, and your teenager's going to get mad at you and probably say some things that you don't want to hear. But when you have those opportunities to go to God, He can give you that peace to guide you through those times. He can help you navigate what to say, what to do, when to stay silent even. If you look at Philippians 4:6-7, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. We hear this passage a lot, and I think even I'm guilty of repeating it sometimes without really digging into what it's saying. He's going to give us that peace in the midst of all the chaos. When Cannon was mad at me, and there were a lot of times that he was, my heart would be just torn into millions of pieces. but I could turn to God and I could pray and I could cry out to him, and he could give me peace knowing that even though the situation didn't get better immediately, I had peace from God knowing that it was going to be okay and that God was going to see us through it. And that gave me hope. It doesn't mean, like I said, it's going to be fixed right away, but you will have that peace. Listen to God's voice for guidance. I wasn't perfect about this, but I tried. I really did try to lean on God and pursue his guidance for my parenting. And having that relationship was essential. Secondly, seize opportunities for special and teachable moments. Cannon and I both have very busy schedules, especially when he realized he was old enough to start working. The first opportunity he got a part-time job, and of course I work full-time as a teacher. And so we would be missing each other, sometimes just passing through the door as one of us was leaving and the other was coming home. But sometimes we did have some times together. We could go run around town or run some errands, and some of our best talks were in the car. Running to Walmart to grab some odds and ends, or to the grocery store because I needed his help with the groceries. Those were always great opportunities for us to chat and to just listen. Sometimes for me to just listen to him. And there were times where he would talk about things that maybe didn't necessarily interest me, but I listened because it was important to him. And because it was important to him, I listened. And that made him feel like he had a place to come to talk. He doesn't know how much I treasure those moments in our time together. And I hope that he enjoys those as well. And if you have those moments and you seek out those times, I'm sure your teenager will treasure them as well. And when we were in the car and we would have a Christian song on, and sometimes he didn't understand what the lyric would say, he would ask me questions. And it was a good teachable moment for me to explain what the lyric meant and how it related to the Bible and how he could apply that to his life. And so that was a good teachable moment for me to take an opportunity to just share some wisdom. Not that I have a lot. And when he was an early teenager, before he was too cool, he would still let me come in and say goodnight at his bedside, and sometimes we would chat there. But ultimately, for him and I, the best opportunity for us is in the car. Hey, let's go to the grocery store, and we would chat. So seize those opportunities. And also, if you're in the car and you see a car wreck or something along that, you can take those opportunities to say, let's pray and make sure that everybody's okay. Teachable moments. Those are really precious to both you and your teenager. Ephesians 6:4 says, "Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." I know it does say fathers, but I believe this also goes for us mothers too. We need to teach them about God and his ways. And having those special alone time moments together can give you a lot of opportunities for that. God will bring those divine appointments to give you those chances. And lastly, model service to God and others. Teenagers are selfish beings. That's just the nature of a teenager. Their brains are not completely developed. They think they know it all, and they want instant gratification. It's not entirely their fault. They just haven't finished growing up yet. They want to spend their free time hanging out and having fun and spending time with their friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we also need to remind them that God has called us to serve. Use an opportunity to sign your family up to do a serve project together, or just you and your teenager. That makes for great bonding moments. Cannon and I like to go to Toby Mac concerts when he comes in town because Joe doesn't really like Toby Mac's music so much. So that's kind of for me and Cannon to go do together. And one year, they had the World Vision sponsoring kids there. And he said, Mom, can we sponsor a kid? I'm like, I'm not going to say no. So that's one way that we bond, is we sponsor a child overseas, and we talk about that child, and we talk about how we can help that child and pray for that child, and that's just one way that we serve together, and that's for him and me. Not that Joe doesn't get involved sometimes too, but for that's kind of just me and Cannon. That's our thing. We also have a few other little things that we do together, but find something that you and your teenager can do together. It's just, and it doesn't have to be huge. But that gives you great opportunities to teach about serving. Because we need to remind them that Jesus did teach us to serve because he came to serve. If you read in Mark 10:43, not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. So that just gives me a chance to teach him that hopefully once he gets out on his own, he will take that with him and find opportunities to serve others. At some point in the near future, he will be moving out on his own, and I can only pray that I've done enough and done a good enough job to teach him what he needs to know. I'm scared. But I keep trying to do the best I can with the time that I have left. I also keep relying on God and putting Cannon in God's hands. As Tara mentioned, God is the perfect parent and does hold our children in his hands. Every relationship between a mother and a child is completely different and requires a different approach. Unfortunately, despite the number of books on parenting that have been authored, none of them hold all of the answers. But the Bible is our guide on how to handle everything in life, including on how to be a mother. So I encourage you to rely on God. Let him guide you. Let him speak to you. And look to the mothers in the Bible. And look to an older mother in your life that might be able to give you some advice on parenting a teenager, because it can be rough, and like I said, very smelly. Lysol is your friend. One last thing that I want to really just mention is I don't want to overlook those of you who might be in pain just because of today being Mother's Day. Those of you who have lost your mother, were unable to know your mother, unable to have children, those who have lost children, any of you who might be in pain for whatever reason for today, just know that I see you. You're in my heart and you're in my prayers for peace and comfort. Happy Mother's Day.